I am live. We are all live. We are alive. We're most definitely alive. Hi guys. Wave, wave, wave. It is Thursday, June the 24th. How you doing? Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Some of the gang, some of the family, the tribe, the party. How are we doing? It's still light, obviously. We had the solstice on Monday, didn't we? Hello from Peru. I think you're below that. Yeah, you're below the... what's that line called? I've had a bad day from memory. You're below the equator. That's the word I was looking for. Go England! We'll get onto that. How are you doing? It's a full moon tonight here. Apparently, it is a strawberry full moon in Capricorn. Some of you will know what that means. I have no idea. I'm from Argentina. I have no idea. But I'm out here in Wales, in the Welsh Hills, and it's very peaceful. It's calm. It's quiet, just me and Ziggy here. And a few insects, a lot of bees, a lot of birds, although they're quiet at the moment. And yeah, I've just been here trying to do a bit of writing. That's music writing, not the word miting. Hi from Michigan. And yeah, we're in a weird time. I mean, it's been weird, isn't it? Every time, it's always weird. But there's this strange kind of, here in England, in Britain, we've got this, if you believe the numbers, which I do, it would seem the vaccines are working in keeping people out of hospital. But there's this new Delta variant that seems to be increasing. So we're sort of in this kind of, again, in this, are we, aren't we, are we, aren't we? So that's, I guess we're all used to that now. Anyway, I guess summer brings optimism and the good weather. And yes, tournament football, soccer for some of you. Some of you may have noticed that I quite like football. I quite like soccer. And I love nothing better than a summer's tournament, i.e. the World Cup, which comes around every 4 years, or the Euros, which comes every 4 years. And England, who I follow, and I like Wales as well. England and Wales are both through from their group stages. So England have a game, Wales have a game on Saturday against Denmark, which should be, I think Wales have a good chance, but the Danes are very good. And England have a crunch match with Germany. So who knows? It always seems that Germany, ever since I was a kid, Germany always won. But in the last 10 years, that started to shift. And for all of those of you who are English or British will know that it always goes to penalties. And we're living on tenterhooks. So there have been many occasions. But I feel kind of quietly, I like this England team. I feel quietly optimistic, different energy. It's not like the old days. And who knows? So that's good. That's kept me. And I did something. I took Ziggy. I'll show you Ziggy. That's Ziggy. You see her? She's in the basket. Ziggy's in the basket. Took her down to the river today. It was so beautiful. Late afternoon. And the water was cold because it comes off the mountain, but it was so beautiful. And there's this the level's quite low at the moment because there's not been a lot of rain. So you get these beautiful rock pools. So I was sitting there in the sunshine. I was just like, I want to get into that water. And I haven't been in this year, and I haven't been in since I've been doing the Wim Hof thing. Took my clothes off, got in. Amazing. The Wim Hof thing, I did not do the usual. I was just deep breathing, felt the cold water, felt great. So And actually, you know what was really nice? It was really nice doing something spontaneous. You know, I realized that when we do these spontaneous things like this, they bring a lot of joy. Obviously, the cold water brings a lot of joy. And I mean, it's such an extraordinary, beautiful place. It's unbelievable. It's like something. If you imagine something from, I don't know, it's almost Tolkien-esque. It's almost fairy tale. This beautiful, so much green, and it's so lush, and mosses, and this cold, clear water. So that was really good, and hence, you know, my hair's a little, not disheveled, but you know. So yeah, that was a beautiful moment, and I'm going to do more of that. I feel like I've been cooped up too long, and I've been on a schedule, and I'm just going to flow more, literally. All right, so let's pull somebody in. Ziggy needs a swim. Oh, but Ziggy swims all the time. She's in there the whole time. So I just went in after, not with her. I'm vowing to some wild swimming before the summer ends. Yeah, do it. Up in Cumbria. It's beautiful. Honestly, you feel so good. I mean, we all know this, don't you? We've all been reading. This is the big thing in the last 4 or 5 years. Also, Colin's birthday on Saturday. So, I'd like to wish him all a big happy birthday. 21 again. Thank you. People have said very nice. I didn't throw that thing out about my hair just to get compliments. But, what do you think of my hair? I haven't really done anything to it. I've just, thrown it together. But thank you for the nice comments. I'm going to pull one of you in. Okay, let's do this. Request. There are some familiar names. And it'd be nice to get everybody in, wouldn't it? But then it might be a little unruly. Okay. All right, let's do kind of random. Yeah, I like this name. I think this is cool. All right, let's try this person. You've all got cool. This is a cool one. Here we go. Request. One of you has been requested. Hi.
Hello. How's it going?
I'm all right. How are you?
I am good. I'm doing all right.
What's your name? I'm Ed.
I'm Cade.
Cade. I like your name. I was just like, that's a really. What is it? Is it Cade? Cade?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And is that short for anything, or is it a full?
No, that's it. Yeah, it's a pretty short, to the point.
It's
kind of
great.
Like yours, I guess.
Yeah, but I've never heard of Cade before. But there are a lot of Edwards, aren't there? There are a lot of Eds.
There's not many here. I'm in the United States.
Yeah.
I really didn't know any growing up.
No. Have you met any other Cades in your life?
One or two, yeah.
Wow.
Where
does it come from?
So apparently there was a football player, Cade McNown. He played for like UCLA or something.
Right.
And my parents were going to name me Cade instead, but that was a bit too long. So they're like, We'll just chop off the N.
Oh, cool. Wow. So where are you, Cade?
I'm in Wyoming right now.
Wow. Whereabouts in Wyoming?
So it's about in Laramie, Wyoming, about 2 hours north of Denver.
So is it pretty remote? Are you pretty wild? Are you pretty quiet? Yeah?
Have you ever been to Yellowstone or anything like that?
No, I so want to go to Yellowstone. I can't tell you. Yellowstone, Wyoming, and Montana. We've driven through Montana. No, we didn't drive through. Yeah, I think we might have. Going from Portland, Oregon to Minneapolis.
Okay.
Which was a long way.
Yeah.
But no, it's God's own country up there, isn't it?
It is. I'm going to school out here. I'm actually in a summer program. I have to leave to walk to campus in 20 minutes or something. But yeah, I'm going to school out here, so I haven't really explored it much. I just got out here this summer. I'm originally from Oregon, which you just mentioned. So
right.
Yeah, Oregon coast. I saw you guys up in Portland, Oregon. I think 2017, I want to say.
2017, I remember it well.
Yeah. So can I tell a funny story about that, please?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, neither. Yeah, of
No.
course. Of course.
So, okay. So, obviously big Radiohead fan, right? So I haven't been to many concerts in my life. My dad's been to quite a few. And we got tickets to go see you guys up in Portland. And he's like, oh, they're going to play that Creep song. They're going to play Creep. I was like, they're not going to play it. They never play the song. There's no, like, they're not going to play it. Kept saying it, kept saying it. And so we go through the concert, loved it. You guys played Airbag that night?
Yeah.
My personal favorite song. So that was awesome. And then they didn't play it. He's like, they're going to play it. They're going to play it. And then last song of the night, you guys decided to play Creep, which my dad was like, I told you they were going to play it.
Wow.
Which was very strange to me because I did not expect it whatsoever.
That is very, very unusual. Gosh, I wonder why we played it. We must have been in a very, very good mood.
Good. That's good.
No, that's quite weird. Maybe I've forgotten, but I think the idea was not the idea. I mean, so what happened? To put it into context, so we have this song called Creep, and for about a couple of years, from '93 to about '94, until the Bends came out, we were very lucky. We got to tour the world, and because essentially of that one song, the rest of the album was pretty crap, but that one song was pretty good. And no, that's not fair, but you know what, I'm being quite binary on that. I'm being quite sort of no, it's nuanced. Of course, Pablo Honey is a nuanced album. And so then we played Creep for years and years, and we had to, you couldn't play. And all through all the touring for the Bends, a lot of touring, and then right the way through OK Computer. And I think by the end of OK Computer, which would have been, so that we would have been playing Creep back in '92. So probably about 500 shows plus later, we played Creep every single night. And it's been a big moment for the audience, and understand we stopped playing it. And we only would play it. We'd do it very rarely. I remember so we didn't play it for years and years and years. We went to tour in South America for the first time in 2009 or 2008, maybe 2009. And because we never been there, we played it, and then we did. There's a festival over here called the Reading Festival. Have you heard of that?
I have, yeah. I've watched your YouTube videos of you guys playing there.
Yeah, so Reading is kind of like, so Glastonbury is the mothership of all festivals, and it's in Britain. And I think it would be fair to say, I mean, there are amazing festivals all over the world, but Glastonbury is, of all the music festivals, I mean, I've never done Burning Man, and I know that's not essentially a music festival, that's more of an experience. But Glastonbury is an experience, and it's a musical festival and an arts festival, really. It's not just music. So, but Reading is it's a bit more gnarly. Reading is a town it's about 40-minute train ride from London. It's actually where my parents grew up, in Reading. Funny town. I like Reading. Some people don't. I don't understand why. And they had this festival in September, at the end of August every year. And it's where the 16 to 18-year-old, it's like there are these exams age 16 in Britain called GCSEs.
Okay. And
all the kids do it. And it's a kind of rite of passage that all the kids go to the Reading Festival after they've got their exam results. And it's mental, because you can imagine they're 16. There are about 120,000 of them.
Jeez.
They're all drinking a lot for the first time, and whatever else is probably, load of weed, maybe pills, maybe MDMA plus, and they've got no idea how to last 4 days. So it's a really, I kind of quite like it because it's very mental, and I feel like, they do things like they burn plastic. I mean, stupid things, and that's the worst bit about it. They get their plastic cups or whatever, and they think it's funny to burn them, like 16-year-old boys tend to be. But anyway, in a very long-winded way, sorry to take up all this time, Kade, I'm trying to explain when we played Creep. I remember we did a set, the first time we headlined there in 2009, and we were like, how do we get over to the audience? Because we were touring in Rainbows, and we could have gone on and done, you know, a challenging set, you know, which Radiohead aficionados wouldn't have found challenging. They would have liked it, you know, to start with a Kade, you know, something from Kade or Amnesiac or Hail to the Thief. But we were like, no, how do we say this is your night? And it was basically, we did the biggest ever greatest hit set we've ever done in our life. And to show, it was like a marker, and to show what we were doing, our intent, because we've got, obviously, we have had a reputation for doing things, you know, not the most straightforward. I mean, a lot of people work, I know we had people in our organization who kept on saying, you know, these are 16, 17-year-olds. They're not like, you know, Radiohead scholars. Be kind to them. Go easy on them. So how do we show this is about your night, not us? And we opened up with Creep. And
that's a surprise.
And I remember because Kev McCabe, who's a dear friend of myself and the band, and he still does all our radios. Been doing our radio since the 90s. They were doing a live feed out, and he said, I saw him after the gig, he went, "Fucking hell." He said, "I've never seen anything like that in my life," you know. And it was a really magic night, and Creep served a great, you know, it's a really great song, but it's a bit like, what would the analogy be? You know, it's like, I can't think of a worthy analogy because I'm not quick enough. But it used sparingly, and so I'm glad that your dad was right. And I think maybe on that tour we threw it in occasionally because people weren't expecting it. I mean, they just don't, like, you weren't expecting it.
Not at all.
But somehow your dad, who's tapped into the Radiohead consciousness, or maybe he saw a sneaky set list.
I don't know. Yeah,
no.
He's not the most technologically advanced, so I don't know how you.
Or maybe he's very intuitive. Anyway, sorry about that. I've taken a long time.
No, I appreciate the story.
So what are you studying? What are you doing in summer school?
So right now it's astronomy. So
oh,
it's
wow!
An astronomy program. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and then in the fall I'm starting the astronomy graduate program here in Wyoming.
Oh my God! And you'll have clear skies as well. I guess in Wyoming it's really good because you've got clear skies. You can see, you know, lots of stargazing, right?
You know, usually, yeah. This week it's not the best, but they have a pretty big telescope out here that we get to go and stay up until, like, you know, 4 a.m. or 5 a.m.
Oh man!
So yeah, it's awesome.
Do you have a background? Do you like astronomy? Is it something you've always been interested in?
Yeah. It's the whole, you know, growing up in a very, very small town where you can just, you know, look outside, go out your front door and look up and see just the gorgeous night sky, and then that's always kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, and those big skies. I mean, we get them. I mean, whereabouts in the small town? Are you from out in Oregon?
Yeah, so it's on the Oregon coast. It's about right on the border of California. It's called Brookings, Oregon. It's a gorgeous place. Like,
it's gonna.
You know, I'll go on Instagram now and I'll see just people posting like these awesome photographs of, you know, where I grew up. It's like 5 minutes from my front door.
So can I ask, were your parents hippies?
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah.
Of course they were. It's such. I know about Humboldt County. I remember the weed from Humboldt County had quite a reputation.
Humboldt State University. That's where I got my bachelor's degree from.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
Wow.
That's
cool.
That's a gorgeous area.
Yeah, it's and what you have in those areas, which we don't, which we have out here in Wales, which we don't get because Britain is so small. But you have the big dark skies. Mm-hmm. And those are, I mean, they're so rare. In the south of England nowadays, for instance, if you were to see one of those satellite images of Britain and the south of England, it's all lit up. You know, you can't really see the stars. Whereas out here, you can see the Milky Way. And, you know, you grew up looking up and, you know, almost being able to touch it, right?
Basically, yeah. Well, looking at some of the pictures you post as well, it seems like you're pretty tapped into the changing of the seasons and the moon and that kind of thing as well.
I love it. I mean, I definitely resonate with it. Massively, absolutely hugely. I mean, the moon thing started. It started actually about 15, 20 years ago, because again, this is a band thing, but we used to have like these 3 or 4 days where everybody was just like really gnarly. And I remember talking to Philip about it, and actually Tom, and you'd feel edgy. And it was always the 3 or 4 days that precedes the full moon.
Okay.
And then, you look at the words like another word for a mad person, a lunatic.
Right.
Lunar, Latin for moon. So the moon, and we know what it does to the tides, and, and all these cycles. And so for me, last 10 years, I've sort of tried to look up at the stars and take an interest.
Yeah.
I need to get a telescope, and I love to do some kind of, I remember when that Star Walk app came out, sort of, oh yeah, but you end up looking at the screen the whole time, which is kind of counterproductive.
I just think it helps, like looking up at night just puts so many things into perspective.
Yeah.
The big things, it's just how vast and amazing.
I'm so with you. For me, that's been a really important perspective, that thing when you pull out,
right?
Because we all get drawn into the drama around us and what's going on. And then you just pull out, and it's kind of it's meaningless, really.
Yeah, you can kind of make it what you want. You can get mad that someone like cut you off in traffic, but then it's like in the grand scheme of things, like if you take a step back, what's the big deal?
And I love that. I love that, because my working title for my album was going to be called The Pale Blue Dot.
Yeah, I read that, I think, in an interview. I can't remember which one.
Which is the Carl Sagan.
Mm-hmm.
And,
so the observatory here in Wyoming, they have 4 bedrooms, if you want to stay the night or something like that. Man. So apparently Carl Sagan stayed the night in one of the rooms here. They call it the Carl Sagan room, because he was doing some observations up here.
Oh, wow.
So pretty cool.
That's so exciting. So how long is the course? Is it like 2 years?
Well, so the summer thing is just 2 months.
Yeah.
And I'm flying back to Oregon and going to drive out. And then, so it's a doctorate program. So it's about 6 years total.
Wow. So what is that? Is it just, have you got a field within astronomy that you'd like to specialize in, or are you just kind of getting in there and seeing what happens?
Yeah, I'm still pretty testing the waters a bit. I think they might do it differently over in Britain and that part of the world. But here it's like you go for the few years, take more classes, and then you kind of just, get your feet wet and see what you enjoy. You don't really have to go in knowing exactly.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh man, it sounds like you're doing exactly what I've done, and what those of us who are lucky enough to do it. So you're taking a passion, something that you love, and immersing yourself in it.
Yes, I'm trying to do the whole thing. And it's kind of, what you speak with music. It's like you have to just find what you love and go full into that. And so it's kind of, that's how I feel about the astronomy stuff. Yeah.
It's interesting, because obviously astronomy is an old science as well, isn't it?
Definitely.
It's really interesting because it's I'm also quite interested in all things esoteric. And obviously astronomy, and I know astrology gets a bad name, and it's distinct from astronomy. And I know it's kind of it's now, there's this modern slant on it, but the astrology as is studied in the Vedas or in Hindu religion, which is kind of an old form, it's like a science. And I'm not going to, I know a lot of astronomers would get very offended for me mentioning astrology. But my point being, really, that I'm backtracking. My point being is that it's an old science, isn't it? And there's a lot of old information, and there's a lot. Astronomy is also something. I was reading or not reading. Did you hear about do you know about the Dogon tribe in Ethiopia?
I don't know.
So it's really interesting. The Dogon tribe in Ethiopia, on one of their cave paintings, very old tribe, they did the trajectory of the Pleiades.
Okay.
And they did that was some explorers or whatever, they made contact with somebody from the West, and they were trying to decipher, try to understand. And one of the things this tribe felt particular connection to the Pleiades.
Interesting.
I thought that's really interesting. So it's because, like you said, our ancestors and indigenous people all over the world have looked at the stars. And actually, one of the things that blew my mind, I became aware of in '98. There was this brilliant program on Channel 4 over here called Heaven's Mirror, and it said that the pyramids of Giza, the 3 pyramids, are all aligned with the same proportions and alignment as a mirror of as I only know it as Orion's belt or whatever. You'll know it. The Great Bear. Is that what it is?
I'm not the best at constellations, but I do know Orion's belt. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's lots of our ancestors and it's an amazing subject. And of course, you're on the cutting edge. I mean, I follow on Instagram. I follow the Hubble and the NASA and these incredible nebula they're the most beautiful, the most beautiful images you'll see, right?
I completely agree. Yeah, I follow all those as well, and it's like daily, you're scrolling through your thing and you just get these amazing images of like galaxies, and there's a lot of work that goes into making the images is like how we see them,
Yeah, of course.
So,
yeah.
Hey Ed, I gotta walk to campus right now.
Kade, I love it. It's been great chatting to you. I'm really so nice to connect with you. Have a brilliant day, and thanks for coming on, and a real pleasure to meet you.
Yes, you as well. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, go well, my friend.
All right, thank you. You too.
Cheers. Bye. Wow, that was cool. Thank you, Kade. That was nice. That was interesting. We've got one little. Yeah, Kade, an astronomer. All right. Kade's got to go to school. I love that. Go to college. They say school in America. He's doing a doctorate. That sounds like major school, but fun school if you're doing. Okay. Let us bring in somebody. We've had a nice young man. Let's balance out with the feminine. Okay. Let us try. Okay, here we go. Andrea. Andrea might be a bloke. Andrea. Calling you.
Hello.
Hello, Andrea. I thought you were going to be a lady.
No.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you?
In Italy, northern Italy.
Whereabouts in northern Italy?
Do you know Turin? Torino?
Yeah, Torino.
Right. Near there. Not really there, but near there.
Do you like football?
I don't. I'm a weird Italian. I don't like football.
I think
but yeah.
I think your team, I think Italy, they're my favourites to win. I think they're looking pretty good.
Are they?
Yeah, they are. But you're not interested.
Not really. More interested in music and something like that. The stuff that you like, probably.
Why is your why is your accent so incredible?
I don't know. Never been, I never lived in England. I've just been there. And yeah, I just listen.
You got an incredible ear, because I would say you could be like one of those, you could be an Italian who'd been living in Britain for the last 15 years.
I've been in England for about 4 weeks my whole life.
Wow. Your English is incredible.
Thank you very much.
So
I actually had the same conversation a couple of years ago with Brian Eno. I was just asking him to sign something for me, and he was like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Here." And he's like, "No, you're not from here. You're English." And I was like, "No."
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you go to Brian Eno's show?
He was presenting an installment called the 77 Million Paintings. And that's a music and image thing that he's doing. And he's basically generating images with a program that he's created that
Yeah.
goes on his own. So he's not really part of the creation. So he created the master, and then the master creates the images. It was really nice.
Good, he's good at that, isn't he? I love Eno. I think he's because he did that with music. He's got that kind of program. He's so interested in those boundaries where machine and humanity, and he's very inspiring like that.
Absolutely. He's one of the few people on earth that I could listen to every single day, and I will always be interested. And he's got a certain attitude to the way he explains his ideas, and his ideas as well, that are so inspiring. I mean, most of the times it's not even the music, it's the thought behind it that is so inspiring and so interesting. And I don't know if you like his music or not, but
I do. I love his music, and he invented a whole genre, you know, in ambient. And I was listening. Interesting. I was listening to him. Who was he talking? I was listening to a podcast with him on, and he was saying that when he made his first ambient album, Music for Airports, he was inspired by sitting in Cologne Airport in the 70s, which is very beautiful, you know, architecturally stunning, and there were very few people in there. And but he made it. He was living in New York he was living on the corner of I think Broome Street, he said, and Broadway. And you know, he's in the 70s, and New York is chaotic, and he said he never made music so calm and quiet, and which is ambient music, as at that time. And he thinks that it may have been a reaction to all the freneticism of life outside his door. And that it was, he kind of made that music because that's what he needed to sort of stay sane. I thought that was really interesting, that you kind of, and he said then he left New York after 5 years and went back to the little village in Suffolk in England, which is a quiet corner of England, if you like. And he said he never made louder or more chaotic music or more brutal music than he did at that time. So I agree with you. I think it's interesting because to me, you see, it's interesting because Brian Eno is not, he's self-confessed, he's not spiritual. He doesn't, he's not in, but I think he's deeply spiritual, but he just doesn't, you know, he doesn't call it that. His music is very, I mean, not all of it, but a lot of it is very profound. It comes from a very, very beautiful and calm place. So, yeah.
I think it's about really letting your ego go.
Yeah.
And so in some way that is spirituality, is letting go of materialism and surface and going deep. And with that music, you can really do it. I mean, sometimes, to be honest, some of these things to me sound a bit cheesy. Some of them are amazing, but some of them are a bit cheesy. But that's not the point.
No, but that's also a really interesting point, because that is also what sometimes people don't realize is that musicians and artists and people that you like, sometimes it's a very fine line between being cheesy and being great. And like, it's really true, because it's very easy. I remember Johnny Marr saying this to me years ago when we first met. He said, "Don't be scared to sound shit." And I didn't really know what that meant, but that was basically him saying, in order to sound great, you almost have to go through a shit phase. And you have to be, and that's about, I think that's also surrendering of the ego, is going through is the realization. You know, Paul McCartney said, I think when Paul and I were doing that incident, he said, you know, the Beatles weren't very good at the beginning. And, you know, and it's the same, you know, that was true, obviously, and it's the same for Radiohead. And I know even there are times when we're trying to make a song, or anybody's trying to make a song, and it sounds awful. And, you know, and people would be really surprised. I think again, that's the surrendering of the ego. It's about letting go, and by surrendering, you then have the room for the great stuff to come through. And the great stuff as well is often not a conscious, it's more often than not a conscious thing. It's something that happens. It's not something that you maneuver or, you know, make happen.
Well, I just remembered that, I don't know where, but somewhere I read something that really resonated with me, and it was going like, if you stop wanting, you'll have. If you stop craving for things, that's the way the world will give you what you want. If you keep being in a state of need, it's like being alert. It's like being, you're not ready to receive.
Well, that's right. You're absolutely spot on. And that where does that craving, that need comes from? It comes from fear. You know, it's about that thing. You only really crave something when you fear being without it, right? When you need it. I need that. It comes from, and you basically, and this has been a big thing for me actually this winter. It's like the kind of the fear that's in a lot of us, the way we were educated, the way we grew up. There are the echoes, the ghosts of those fears and modern fears, you know, present fears. But you have to, you're right, you have to, you're spot on. You have to let go of the craving, the need, in order for that thing to happen. And it's so true. And it's interesting, again, it's almost like you know, that kind of the law of attraction, whereby if you say you don't want something and vehemently you don't want it, it's most likely to happen. You're drawing it to you. And the same thing so it's like these poles, they're being attracted. And so when you become like, if you can become like Eno, and I'm sure he's not all the time, but that kind of egoless, that's when this stuff can come through.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. And it's so hard and so simple at the same time.
Tell me about it.
It's like when you're there, but when you're not, it's really difficult to go there in that place.
Well, it's so pertinent to where, you know, my day, because I've been here since Sunday, and I've been sort of getting into a groove, if you like, kind of just applying myself and just seeing what happens and playing, and just, you know, and stuff was happening. And I really got a buzz on Tuesday. I felt like, I feel like I'm on my way. I'm on my journey. I found something. And I found myself today, right, I've got to apply myself, I need to check in, do that, bang, bang, bang. And by doing that, I stopped flowing. And so for me, what I learned today was not to worry, took Ziggy down to the river, bathed in the water there, and went with the flow. And that's the key thing. And you know, it's seemingly the easiest, it's an easy thing to let go of it, but to actually do it, it's one of the hardest things. It really is.
Totally. I mean, if I think about myself, that's the same experience. I mean, I try to make music as well, and that's the same thing.
Yeah.
When you really want something, and that's the beauty of like recording improvisation or first takes. It may not be perfect, as you were saying, but they've got the sparkle, they've got the thing that you then will look for, but you already have. And it's there in the first seed that you planted.
Great.
And it's so interesting and so hard to accept.
Are you a professional musician, or are you doing it as a kind of a full-time hobby?
Well, I wouldn't say it's an hobby, but I have to be realistic, and I'm not paying my bills with music. So I'm in that middle position where maybe this is the only occasion in which trying a bit harder and wanting may, you know, bring me to something. But yeah, I'm trying to make music, and it's been a journey for like 10 years. Now I'm 30. And I started a bit late because I started when I was 20.
You're never too late.
Of course, no. Of course not. Yeah. But, you know, on the normal and, you know, typical experience, 20 is a bit late. But who cares? And yeah, so I've been trying to make music. I play guitar, I sing, and I try to create something that is not what I normally would do every time. It's like, lately I was thinking about this, like, sometimes what you want to do is not what your body creates. It's like, it's not what you meant to do. And sometimes, again, you have to accept it and just let it go. I mean, my project, I have a band called By Now. I don't want to.
No,
don't want to
promote
say.
yourself.
No, come on. We started as an acoustic thing, acoustic guitar and drums, and then now we are slowly moving towards something more electronic, something more electric. But it was never a sort of a choice. We never thought, okay, we're done with the acoustic stuff, we better move on to something else. It just happened.
Yeah.
And I think that,
Yeah.
I mean, that is an experience that you live, probably. Things go and you follow. And that's so great.
And if you can do that, I think that's the key. And I think that following your intuition, that's so important. It's so important. And I always think that it's like, if you force something, it's never as what's the word? It's never as, not satisfying, but it's never as powerful as if something flows. And that, I think that's the other thing, is that's the exciting thing about, if you can get yourself into a position whereby you set up your intentions, you're not trying to control it. You're not, you're kind of going with the flow. So you started off as an acoustic band and now you're moving somewhere else. And I think that's brilliant. You're following.
We're following the river. I have a question for you, if you want to answer. In a band like Radiohead, which is, I think, to my experience of the band, so structured, how do you deal with going with the flow? I mean, there's 5 of you, so it's not just one author. It's 5 members who are really strong people. And so how do you deal with being natural with yourself, but still maintaining that flow of...
Well, what happens is that when you're a younger band, you spend all your time together. We were all together a week ago and we were talking, and we were saying we got signed at the end of 91 and we didn't stop really until mid 98. So that's the end of the touring of OK Computer. We just didn't stop. So we were basically with one another the whole time. And what happens when you do that? Yes, there is structure because you go on tour and you've got to get your bus or whatever. But because you're with one another the whole time, when you get to create, you're all in sync. You're all in the same cycle, if you like. It's like, and what gets harder for bands, and this is why bands tend to sort of, I'm not why, but it's one of the reasons I think, is that inevitably as you get older, you have families. So having spent, all your time together for, 7-8 years non-stop, plus the previous 4 or 5 years when you weren't signed, it's then time you've got your family and your kids and stuff like that. So it's a good question. So when you do get back together again, sometimes you're not in the same cycle. You're not, and I think that those things take time, and that's why that's why if you go on tour, you spend 4, 5, 6 weeks rehearsing. So you get back into one. You don't go out because you could probably go out after a week and do it, but you're not in sync. You're not harmonized, if you like. So it's a good question. And that's why it gets harder and harder, and you're not in the flow, and one person's in a good place in their life, and it's all those things as people get older. It's like family. You know, if you think about families, you get older with family. You know, you meet up for Christmas and Easter and stuff like that. And one year everybody gets on really well and it's, oh, this is great. And the next year there's the biggest fucking family row and someone storms up because people have very separate lives and old tensions. And, you know, families are maybe, well, it is a family, yeah. And it has the same kind of, you know, it is like family. It's, and it's that, yeah. So it's funny because it's like, carrying on with the family analogy, that when you're together, you know, from 91 to 98, that's like you're living at home. You're all together. You're living under the same roof, and then you all leave the home. You leave the house, and you have your own houses. And that's, you know, that's when it gets tricky, or it gets harder because you are out of sync. And like we were saying earlier about the moon and cycles, and you know, all these cycles that we sort of. I remember, I mean, I hope this isn't inappropriate, but I worked in a restaurant in Oxford. And I remember a couple of the waitresses telling me that, you know, all the waitresses' menstrual cycles are all harmonized. You know, basically, you know, if a new waitress joined, and it's just fascinating.
Wow.
We all have cycles. We all have harmonization that gets, and you know, and I think we don't understand this, and we don't understand. You get a group of people together and quite disparate, and you know, let the whole thing settle. So I hope that was all right to say. I feel, because it's, you know, I presume it is. Anyway.
Of course it is.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, Andrea, what are you doing? What are you doing tonight? It's still light there, right?
No, it's almost night.
Almost
and
night.
Tonight I'll be home and I'll be preparing because tomorrow starts a festival that I organize, a musical festival that I organize.
Oh wow.
And the musical, yeah. And so we start a weekend that is going to be fucking full.
Wow.
Really
Brilliant.
full.
Great.
Yeah. It's so good to be back. Like, I've been doing this thing for about 10 years or so, organizing music festivals.
Well done.
And it feels like a relief, like being back to that state of like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do anything I need to do. It's so good to be back and
well
to see people.
Andrea.
Yeah.
So great. Yeah. Well, you'll have a brilliant weekend. Have a great weekend. What's the festival called?
Artico. Artico. It means Arctic, like, you know, cold.
Bravo. Bravo.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, Andrea, good luck. Lovely to speak with you, my friend.
It's been good to talk to you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. Take care and good luck at the weekend.
Of course. Have a good weekend as well.
Cheers, my friend. Lovely.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Right. I'm going to say goodbye. I feel Artico. Okay, everybody. I hope you have a beautiful week. Normally, of a normal year, would actually be maybe the second night at Glastonbury, but that ain't happening. But this is Glastonbury weekend. Wasn't that great? What, Cade and Andrea, brilliant. So nice. All right, guys. Enjoy the full moon. I'm going to be out there. And yeah. Ciao. Ciao. Ciao.